Hey, what's up? My name is Stash from Brooklyn, New York. Here at Elms Lesters with my good friends José Parlá and FUTURA. FUTURA and I have worked together many years. This is a great experience to see him have a show. Jose and I actually just realized we met probably about 6 years ago in Tokyo. So I think he's from Brooklyn, I'm from Brooklyn, and we never see each other in Brooklyn. So here we are, looking forward to seeing what these guys got Thursday night, Elms Lesters, London.
I'm José Parlá. When I was leaving New York, and I had partied pretty much all night, and I went straight to the airport. It was like 6 in the morning, and my flight was at 8. And lucky for me, they delayed the flight, so I got to rest a little bit at the airport and have a little coffee and that. And while I was waiting there, I saw the television talking about how they had found this bomb here in London, and right away I got a phone call from my mother. She saw the news down in Miami, and she was like, "Be careful, are you sure you have to go?" Of course, right? And flew over 6 hours later, and I don't know, it seemed pretty relaxed by the time I got down here, in a sense, like, didn't seem like it was an alarm. Like, I got here to Leicester Square, and it was around 11 p.m. at night, and people were drunk and partying in the street around here, in this area. And the next day, even after the whole thing with Glasgow, it just doesn't seem like people are alarmed. I guess because London, people are used to like bombs going off for a long time, since back in the days of the IRA, right? Whereas if it was New York, there's all this intensity because of what happened with 9/11 but anyways, I felt like being here at this time with FUTURA and doing the show and being here at this time, that I felt like I had to do a painting about it. And so I started using a lot of the pieces from the newspapers from here, from England, to use on the painting. I started it from scratch. The title of the show that we came up with before we started really planning the show, we called it Pirate Utopias. And between Lenny and I feel that we were sort of like, with FUTURA being an influence on me when I was much younger, and still till today, we've had this total freedom from like the normal art world or the academic world of creating. We sort of made our own language in a sense, and so that's kind of claiming us an independence from a lot of things, not just from art, but from like society. As is to say, there is no society. We make our own society, and so just the idea of that. A lot of my pieces have been titled from that departure point of like being autonomous and having your own sort of space. We know like the system is much more powerful than what we can change on a daily basis, but psychologically we could change our own space and how we deal with the world. And so I think that this piece is about that. And I think I used pieces from the newspaper for two reasons. Like because these huge events are happening here in London when I land here, and it's sort of like to mark the story, but also because like it shows that the system's not working. Like people are angry. You feel a lot of anger, here with people, and in the U.S. and New York, there's huge disappointment in the governments and all of that. And I think that in some way my work comes across having to do something with that naturally. It's not like I'm planning it or that you can read it legibly, because my handwriting and everything sort of camouflages and changes. But I think it's all related to an energy that we feel like that's going in our lives right now, in our generation.
My name is Lenny, and I also known as FUTURA, and I'm here at the Elms Lesters Painting Rooms in London, a show with José Parlá. Welcome.
Can you tell us about your first thoughts when you arrived in London with the situations that are going on?
Yeah, I think I got here like the night before that event. So, there's always something going on here, you know what I mean? Like, I was all anticipating the show, and I know like this is off, topic, but the Tour de France is going to be happening here, and so I was like all excited to come to London, and then obviously this thing happens. But I mean, with the situation as it stands, you know, in other places of the world, it's kind of not surprising. You know, I'm fortunate nothing was, you know, really, like, no one was injured, you know. I mean, but every time I wind up somewhere, something goes on. You know, I don't know if I'm the bad luck charm, but every time I travel somewhere, there's either like a natural disaster or a bomb scare. So, at least
I wouldn't normally ask that, but I was just curious, just because.
Well, I'm not freaked out by it. You know what I mean? Like, and I was saying, like, we met before, but we met probably in 2000. Yeah, and like that 9/11 era is so different. You know what I mean? In terms of our consciousness about how we think about things or thought about things. So these days, no, it's not surprising. Even prior to the recent stuff, I mean, you guys always had situations in London anyway, with bombs going off, whether it was your own sort of IRA thing, right? You know, there's always been history here, and we never had that in America. You know what I mean? We never had bombs going off. So I'm not freaked out by it now, you know, and I mean, I just always feel like I'm in the good, I have the good vibes, you know what I mean? I'm in the good place, and, you know, people should be fortunate they're within my space, because we're safe. Well, whatever, I've had dreams of being an old man, so I'm going to be an old man, you know what I mean? So and therefore, I always have this really, like, not like carefree, because I do I watch my back, of course. I mean, I'm from the city, right? But, you know, it's not going to happen to me. You know, I am a believer of that, you know, so.
That's great.
Yeah, we're good. This space is cool. Well, yeah, Jesus Christ right here also, right? Very powerful, yeah. This was intended to be the only, you know, like the only figurative painting I was going to have in the show, and then Paul saw it. He's like, "Oh wow, okay, I'd like to get one of those." So I did another one. I don't know where they put it. It might be downstairs, but you know, so this was going to be like, okay, everyone knows I've done this, and this was like the main guy. And against the other paintings, I mean, this is quite minimal, and it's got all the elements of this guy that I guess appealed to me. But then they were like, "Hey, can you do some more?" So I thought we were done at the dozen, and this was the third. This was the 12th painting, but then I wanted to make my 13th, and now these other ones. So, yeah, there's more of this stuff now in the show than I had imagined there would be. But could we just like look at some of the paintings though? Also, can we get those on? Yeah. And talk to me about.
I wanted to ask you, is it premeditated that all the different things you're going to do, or do you kind of improvise as you go along?
It's more like improvisation as I go along. I guess somewhat I've been painting for so long, and I have sort of a language by the way that I paint, that I'm used to how materials are going to react. But in England, the materials are different.
Oh, right,
yeah,
okay.
sometimes they smell stronger, or the density.
You know the alcohol's stronger over here.
The alcohol's stronger. The chemicals are different inside the paint, you know? And so it worked a little bit different with this painting. So I'm rediscovering some of the techniques and the materials, and then it's going to end up having a look that only probably you can get from English materials.
You can put made in England on it.
Yeah, I'll put it in the back, you know? Yeah, definitely.
And what size is this? It's got to be, what is it?
It's 10 feet by 12 feet.
Wow.
I feel like at a stage where I'm just like filling in some areas.
And did I talk to you before about when I remember when you said in your review before that you used soundtracks of kind of everyday life while you're working on it. I guess it's not really like that here, is it? It's got quite a quiet spot.
Yeah, but you know what? Today's been, well, no, you know, today's been a little bit of noise because we've, what was going on earlier? I don't know, but there was like some hammering. There was just like tons of noise. Not the same as in my street in Brooklyn. Because where I live on the corner in front of a hospital, so there's tons of sirens all day, and a really busy street. So there's like a high school. There's like 3,000 kids pouring in and out of the avenue every day, like teenagers. So it's always like, yo, and it's crazy in Brooklyn. You know, it's kind of funny. So you're always like painting to the sounds of what's going on outside. Plus, what I like to do is I take my speakers and I face them out the window and play music for people walking by. Sometimes I try to see the mood in the avenue, and if people look tired after work or something, I play like some like reggae to make them feel happy. And then you see people kind of stop and dance a little bit and bug out. Brooklyn, funky neighborhood, you know, it's a real funky neighborhood. So people know the songs, so I play classics. And then, you know, you see like people that are like a little bit older, like in their 40s with their kids, it's like a classic from the 70s or something. So they'll stop and they'll be like, "Whoa," for a minute, and then they'll keep walking. Yeah. I guess I just try to blend in with how I'm living. I'm like, I figured if you're painting, it's like your type of photography, but it's not that quick, and it absorbs a different way. So you know, you have to just sort of be in the moment, like really special each moment when you're painting. Sometimes I'm not in the mood to paint, and so I go away, you know, go away from my studio and go do something else. But yeah, the environment's super important.
Yeah, certain pieces of work you've done, certain kind of mind frames or kind of moments in time you've been in, certain moments that you've got really
Yeah, like there's been pieces that are about love that I hold really dear to me. There's pieces that are they don't have much like of a story that's emotional, but it builds over time. Because for example, there'll be a piece that's really personal, and then there's a piece that sort of resembles a street somewhere. But in hindsight, you look back and that's like a portrait that you did of a place. But it's sort of abstract cityscape, but it captures the colors or the emotion of what you were feeling at that place, at that moment. And so that would be a piece. Like there's a piece I have called Calle Luna, I think came out, you guys put in BLAG, and there's a piece called All My Love that's like a really beautiful piece, favorite of mine. There's one that I did in Japan called World Destiny Written, and I was in Japan, and there was a huge hurricane in Miami and in Cuba. But I couldn't reach my family, and then in Japan I just saw the news in Japanese, so I didn't understand really what was going on. So I just saw images, and it was, and all I could do was just go back to the painting and sort of write about that. But it turned, like this huge painting turned into sort of like this massive hurricane sort of shape, because the wall was round. It was in this place in Japan, in Osaka, which was like a lounge. And they had gotten galleries from around that area, and also Frankfurt, Germany somehow teamed up and brought artists to do this place. So it's pretty interesting. But so that has a story from what I was feeling about my family being away, me being away from my family, and then also the atmosphere that I was in and absorbing that and recording that was interesting. But yeah, I think every painting has that though. If you look at each one, there's some have more details than others, but that doesn't mean they're stronger. Sometimes the ones that have that are more minimal sometimes tell you a whole different feeling and a story. And I try to balance it all out, I guess, each time trying to come up with something new. So that's challenging.
Yeah. So can you tell us about your preparations for the exhibitions? When was the last time you showed in London?
It's been, this is more of a show, in that sense. But I mean, I did do some work here recently, a couple of years ago with Hardy from Maharishi, and we have a relationship with like clothing, collaborations we've done, and I did some paintings there in support of like a release of things we were doing, you know what I mean? Because, I'm Slash the artist, and also I'm creating other products and what have you. So we just collaborated on that event. But I mean, a show? No, it's been a while. I would say this is the first show in so many years. With all the associations I've had with various people from UK and what have you, and how my work is probably recognized on some levels, it hasn't been like a proper show or something. So this is kind of, very important for me. And, working with Jose, this two-man exhibition, it's awesome. It's not like, everyone's like Jose X Futura and all this. It's not like a battle, or it's not that kind of a thing at all. It's awesome because we're two, contemporary artists, and we get a chance to work together. I have so much respect for him, and he's another generation. He's the younger, like the next level of, next coming of the heads, but he's got a great style, and he's such a warm person, and he's just a beautiful person, so, and so I'm very, I know he's honored, I'm honored, it's just a great opportunity. I just told him, dude, let's just like meld our forces together, and we put on a great show. And people are very curious. They're going to come. People will come to be seen. People will come to see the work. You know what I mean? So it's important we give good work. Really, that's at the end of the day. That's what's important. So we're focusing on work. Here. This has been more like. I've been here since I've arrived. I've been here. Not in any dungeon way, but it's been about coming here. The space is awesome. You know what I mean? We're both like really blown away by the space itself, and like how wonderful Paul and Fiona are, and very like warm as well and welcoming, and making everything wonderful, and tea,
Lovely.
totally lovely, yeah. So no, this is awesome, and it's funny because, I think we both are able to work, in not just necessarily maybe like a public setting, but in something that's more spontaneous and not necessarily, like this is not like something organized. This is pretty much like, okay, hey, you guys want to come over here? We can do the work here. Great, So we're able to adapt, I think, to different spaces, and still, find a great place to work, which is important, Yeah, they have everything has been great. The paint here is really good, and from my point of view, like the paint is awesome. The space is great. I feel I'm in a good space, and therefore because my work is very spontaneous. I think Jose's is also you're able to sort of flow more freely, and it's really easy. It's real cool. Not like stressed at all, or at all.
Yeah, you want to do that? Sure. So I'll probably be here like really late tonight, and then tomorrow really early in the whole day. Yeah, I want to get a lot of layers on that one.
So going back to the exhibition, how many pieces are you going to be showing?
You know what? I'm not positive. I brought from New York. I brought 28 pieces, but I'm not sure if Paul's gonna hang all of them. I know that there's gonna be some pieces with Futura, and it's gonna be sort of juxtaposed like that. So we'll see. I really don't know. Yeah, it's getting closer though.
Yeah. And then what's next for you?
After London, I go back home to New York and start working again. And I'm doing a show in China in May of 2008. But leading to that show, it's not a solo show. I'm working with an artist named Young Kim, who's known as the Soup Man, a woman from New York named Dion Chuk, and an artist named Rose Starr from Brooklyn as well. The four of us are taking a trip from Shanghai to Shangri-La through the old Silk Road and different rural towns, and collaborating with local artists and calligraphers, and maybe collaborating with each other, photographing, and we're bringing a team to document the whole trip.
Oh, brilliant.
And so we're taking artwork from that road trip, and then creating new work in our studios, and going back to Beijing going to Beijing in 2008 for an exhibition. And the whole idea is sort of like a grand tour, like how you travel for learning, but for us we want to travel, learn, and then share. So it's like learning and teaching through exhibition. And then we have a show following that in Tokyo that will be the same way, traveling through Japan, and then we'll do it in New York. And so it's like a series that we want to do of travel with a group of artists, and then exhibit and document. And so it's like sort of creating like this elsewhere community.
It's not making your life any more envious, are you really?
No, it's but yeah, it's like another way of seeing the world, I guess, through the filters of artist eyes, and their lives and stuff like that, in those moments. So I think that's gonna be really exciting,
Yeah, sounds brilliant. But I want to ask you about the pieces that you've done. How many pieces are you going to be showing?
I think there's there might be 12 other pieces, like in the exhibition. So counting these 5, it's 16, 17 pieces in the show. One of them is a diptych, but then there's these are obviously. This is more about like kind of give the people what they want and expect, in a sense, because this is what they're drawn by. I think this kind of imagery, this point man, uncle figure, is something everyone like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
And in a way, like, it's not the centerpiece of this show. I think more importantly for me in this show, it's like revisiting, you know, paintings that I have made, but with a kind of a new energy about them, and, you know, like maybe a bit more, I would say where before my stuff was always very like abstract and minimal and airy, these are a bit more intense and, you know, so I mean, I hope people are surprised by that. I don't think they will be by this, but I think technically these are really, you know, like perfect in that sense and not overdone in the way some of the paintings may even be a little bit like kind of too intense, you know. So, but there's some light stuff there. I mean, there's kind of a little bit of everything, I think, that will appeal to people, you know. As a result, like, most people see the work and they're like, everyone likes something different, which is great, you know, at that point. Like, no one ever likes what I like, but it's okay. It's never that way. But, you know, we'll see. I mean, I think people will get a good reaction from the show. I mean, of course, like I say, it's supported more by the fact that Jose's here and people are very curious what this collaboration or you know, connection between he and I in the show will bring about in our work. You know, like how's that going to influence what they're doing? You know, like, so we'll see. You know, let the public decide that. But yeah, I mean, you know, the paintings, I think they've already put them downstairs. They may have hung them. I didn't even go downstairs yet. I've really been up here all the time. But I don't want to get in their way. Like, let them kind of do what they do. But yeah.
With that drill.
Huh?
Not near Fiona with that drill.
Oh, yeah, she's got the holster and everything.
Yeah.
She's equipped, right?
Yeah.
No, they're serious. I mean, when it gets down to hanging the show, you know, it's like I don't want to, it's like too many people in the kitchen kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know, so I just stay out of it. And I just prepare the ingredients and let them set the table. You know, they're good at that, yeah. Nice, Hello! Hi! You all right? Okay. Nice job, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I'm saying. So there's like more, it's sort of different. Like you're only getting one side of it, you know, which is. And actually, this is the one that's like probably the least worked on, or the more minimalist of all of them. I think there's just a lot of craziness going on, and certainly those two. And then this was the one like after the big one, Paul. This was actually like a commission from Paul. So like I said, there's the one upstairs, and then Paul had asked, you know, hey, you could maybe hook us up with one. So this one's for Paul, this is Paul's. And so this one's sold. And I think the big one upstairs is sold. I think he mentioned he sold that big one this morning. That's nice. I mean, you know, well, I mean, at least this way when people come, I mean, there are a few sales, and it's like not like, okay, well, I guess maybe I should get some. You know, it's more, obviously more encouraging if work's been sold than if it hasn't, you know, so. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of, I mean, this is special for me because it's like without all of these elements that I guess I'm classically known for, and it's an introduction of some kind of newer ones in my whatever, like menu of elements. But yeah, these are like, I know this reminds me of like older work, but then somehow almost redone, you know. Yet it isn't. I mean, it's all done in one process. A little bit of parlor, a little parlor influence.
Yeah.
A little bit could resist. These are all created upstairs.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, all of this.
Can you tell us about the process on this one?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I say, I mean, I look at the work, like, I mean, obviously I work sometime and it's kind of like sets, right? Because it's easier for me to see a pair or three of something than just one. It helps me to create it. It's just, you get locked on one. If there's more than one, it's sort of like when you have a test, like you're stuck on one, just move on and do the next one. So if I have a multiples, it's easy to create at that point because I can like bounce off of them.
That's what I was going to ask, do you?
Yeah, so that's what you do. So, well, that's what I do. So then for these two, they're pretty much a set. And then what happens is when I create something like that, and I'm like, well, there's all that, and then now what's missing? What is the opposite of that, or what complements that in a way? And it's something that has to be, in my mind, like much more calmer. And so this is very special. I mean, it's all about color too. I mean, the color has a lot to do with my work and what color I use and what color I don't. But oh, there's some really strong lines. Like this red line is really great. And, this is like the first time I've ever introduced drips into my work at all, because it's something like I used to think was like not technically, you know, showed you weren't technical because your work was dripping or something. So, but whatever. Like this is all like new experimentation, and you know, like kind of hoping that the painting experience, you know, will learn from it and make discovery. You know, that's kind of how it works for me. But yeah, so the process for this, I mean, this was the last painting of the show. Other than these new ones, of course, but of all the other ones, this was the last one I did, because I was really like, didn't know how to kind of finish it, but I didn't want to like take it too far.
Yeah, and does that set you off with a load of new ideas?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got all my, you know, I mean, like I say, this stuff here is kind of new, so it has nice motion, you know, but it's not too crazy with like these rings.
I want to ask you about, I know that I've already asked you when I interviewed in the magazine, but about how you work with layers. I remember you saying about when you went to Cuba, you were looking at the decay on the buildings and how you kind of get inspired by the kind of peeling paint and the layers. So how have you done this one?
Well, this one, I guess the process is similar to how a wall starts, because it's just, you know, when it's brand new, and then over the years, some of the layers of the paint starts to fall off, and it, you know, the people that walk by might write on it and tear it up, and so, you know, tear up posters, put posters, and I do the same thing, but I speed it up. I just keep constantly working on it. So, but I work with some traditional paints like acrylic and oil. And then I sort of mix like different markers and ink and powdered pigment that I mix with the color to add texture. I work with like spackling and collage, and then I combine all those things in layers. So I try to work with the colors by adding a little bit of color inside the water or like a PVA. So it works like a transparency
Is that
each
what
layer.
you're doing with the cloth?
Yeah, well, with the cloth, I was wiping it. So, for example, if I wrote with a white brush, while that's still a little bit wet, I pour water on the top and let it drip. And where the drips land inside the white, it's sort of seeping into it. And once it sat there for a little bit, I wiped it, and it only lifted what was wet, you know, at the moment. And so I just like that because it pushes it back another layer, and it sort of sews all the writing and the layers together. It's almost like weaving them by doing that, you know. And then the process continues for a while with different colors and washes of transparency, and then a little bit later on I'll move from acrylic to working with oil to give it more of like a density, because oil sort of, I don't know, creates a whole different glossier, I guess, sort of dimension. So it gives the colors a bit more vibrancy. Yeah. So that's sort of the process I'm working to age the canvas rapidly, to imagine that, like, you know, sun has been beaming in one spot for a really long time. The rain, you know, like washed the wall over the years, and people came and ripped something up. It's like that process.
I learned something from this, and I'm definitely going to go forward with. I mean, a lot of it too, it's like working with spray paint. You know, it's about, I mean, it's kind of limited, you know what I mean, what you can actually do technically with spray paint, you know, I mean, beyond what graffiti writers do with lettering and design on that level, you know, as a painting medium, yeah, there's tons of effects and fades and all kinds of things you can do with it, but it's cool to introduce something, I think, that's new for people as well.
Yeah,
you know, they haven't really, at least in my work also. So I think these are quite new for me. All of this linear, at least like lineage, is very new. You know, I used to kind of work like that, but I used to always work on the floor, and now I'm able to work in a more like normal fashion. You know, like standing upward.
Yeah.
Looks almost like feathers.
We're on the spot now.
Yeah, oh my God. But I mean, that's like a bit of that's like when you walk in, what I was saying before about a menu, that's kind of like the menu is, that's the menu. Like everything is actually on that painting in a way that you will see, you know, like all the ingredients are there in a way.
Yeah.
But they're held back, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's like, you know, the drips are there, the rings are there, the crane is there, the lines are there, this sort of arcing stroke is there, and then those new little like feathery kind of line effects. There you go, feathery line effects.
Well,
I want to know what that says at the bottom there.
at the bottom there, it says, that's funny. I wrote, no ease any more than I need to. It's just-
E-A-S-E.
Yeah, E-A-S-E, no ease any more than I need to.
It's not picking up.
It doesn't make any sense really. Ease was like my name, my nickname. So it's like sort of saying, you know, enough is enough sometimes, or you only need it a little bit. But the title, each title has a different feeling, I guess. And what I was thinking about these pieces was, and I had just gone to Japan, like this is like 10 years ago, and then I started really looking at their old calligraphy pieces. It's a style called kanji, which is like old Chinese, but they've, you know, sort of adapted new meanings to the same characters. But the calligraphers in China do the same, and in Korea, and just, I guess, throughout Asia. And I thought how sometimes you saw something, and although you can't read it, it reminded you of one of those like Rorschach tests, you know, that psychologists put up for you to sort of try and get into your brain, see what you...
What are you seeing in this one then?
Well, I don't know what I see in this one, but it's not so much for me to see into them. It's more for people.
Yeah.
Because for me, I know what the words say, and so it's pretty automatic. And the moment that I'm doing it, I know the feeling and the surrounding around me. But for someone who never seen my work or something, walks up into that, what will they see? Is it like the way I look at Chinese calligraphy, or another type of calligraphy that I can't read from Islam? You know, but you find beauty in things that you can't read sometimes, you know? And so that's the sort of point in these pieces, to sort of concentrate into the calligraphy and just isolate it a little bit from the other textures, and at the same time find like a way to connect it back to my work. And so I found these pigments that allowed for texture to be inside the handwriting itself. You see how inside there's like all these little dots?
Yeah,
and it looks psychedelic a little bit. That was a difficult thing, because the thing I used to do it with charcoal powder. And so it was just black and white, basically tones of gray.
How's that done there then? For it to have such a clean edge, but then you've got this texture going on.
Well, they're done with, like the handwriting is actually done with water. And they're done on tables, and then when they're dry, I use the powder to sprinkle only on the handwriting, which is still moist. And so the water absorbs the powdered pigment, and it does whatever it wants inside the movement of the water. Because can you see how it's moving there? Like,
Yeah.
it's because it's still drying, slowly moving. And so it takes the pigment and moves it around. So it mixes the red with the purple, and it mixes the brown with the yellow and the green there. And then the red and the brown and the yellow. So I use different types of pigment, and it does that on its own, and it looks like a mask. Most people think that it's masked.
That's what I was thinking. That goes back to what you were saying about not having to kind of follow any kind of rules. It's very much kind of self-educated, isn't it?
It is. It's
You get taught
exactly.
any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I used to, you know, what I used to do. I used to take hairspray, and I used to fix my drawings.
I used to
You
do
know?
that.
Yeah, you remember that from school. But what happened was, one day I took a hairspray can, and I wrote on a piece of paper, a white piece of paper, like a sort of nice piece of velvet paper, and then I took marker, and I blew on it with my lips, and it threw ink, and it hit the where the writing was with the hairspray, and inside there it bubbled up, and it did this like really tripped out thing. So I said, wow, what is that? So then I crushed charcoal, and I threw charcoal powder at the hairspray. And so now I had value and tone of from dark gray to light gray only inside the hairspray.
Oh wow.
And the rest of the page was clean and white. And it looked really minimal and like, so I did it for a long time with charcoal powder. Yeah, that's it, powdered charcoal. And then until one day my friend said, you should try colored pigment. But I tried the colored pigment and it wouldn't stick, it wasn't so good. And then a friend of mine who makes toys gave me another type of pigment. that his friend makes, house made, and I don't know what's different from that what you can get in stores, but it was the only thing that only works until this day. So every time I need to do it, I gotta get it from that guy, and he's hand making them.
Oh wow.
So they're really hard to find, and you can't buy them at stores. So it's like really weird, like way coming across these things. So that's just purely experimental.